All right, episode 54, Zach Thomas. You know who that is?
You got me. I don't have a single 54. I'm not prepared.
I don't know. That bitch came out the gate. I don't even know.
Yeah.
That's just because I'm
Is
a
that an
Dolphins
offensive
fan.
tackle? I mean, who? That's a
Bro,
54 is an offensive
I think it was a
guard.
Linebacker.
Oh,
For
yeah.
the Dolphins. For the Dolphins.
Yeah, you got to have a neck pad.
Yeah, bro. You like this and the.
That's a nose guard.
But what I got for episode 54 is this idea of hit the goal with me content. This idea of taking this overarching idea and turning it into a series. There's a brand that we'll talk about. They got to 600,000 followers following this like central idea. I'm gonna show people how to do it, how it works, and kind of how to make it really something that's effective for the company. What you got?
Yeah, I'm going to be talking about differentiation and how to stand out in a crowded market. I think it'll have a lot of synergy with what you're talking about as well, because running those different sort of challenges, community initiatives is a way to basically get yourself in front of people without paying for ads.
100%.
And as that continues to get more expensive, it's just so important to find ways to actually engender yourself to your fans rather than like, hey, look at me, look at me. It's like, no, give them something to participate in. So I'll be talking through like 3 different ways you can differentiate, but I'm excited to hear about this campaign.
I realize I have another cuss word that I use too often on the pod. 100%. I say that way too often when like you're saying something, and I'm now.
It's very affirming though. It makes me feel good.
Yeah, I'm sure it makes you feel good. But
yeah.
I listened to something from Chris Williamson where he was talking about like his early days in the podcast when he was like trash, and I'm realizing that's where I'm at. Where he would say that you don't always need to like make a sound or say something to agree with the person talking.
For sure.
You don't need to be like or 100%. You just a simple head nod is all that person needs.
Sometimes I feel like I'm head nodding too much.
I'm giving a little sus over there if I just see you doing this.
Like when you're locked in with your homie for like an hour straight, I don't know. You got to be careful about how you're using your eyes.
Fair. All right. So here's what I got. What I see is there's this untapped wave of growth potential in the social world where I really think the brands need to take notice of because again, like we were just talking about a few different brands and kind of the organic content that they're creating and it just like not aligning with the brand, not being that good. But then there's this series and this idea that I think is going to have its moment before a lot of brands are doing it. And even seeing it kind of right now, this is different idea, but like you're seeing a lot of brands doing the sweepstakes and you're seeing but it's still an arbitrage for a lot of brands. And then it's, I think we talked about this before, but the law of shitty click-throughs, eventually so many things are going to take off, then they're all going to get copied. I think this is the arbitrage on the organic content side, and I call it hit the goal with me content. And so it's different than building in public. It's different than just sharing a goal and like sharing updates. It's this idea of really 5 bullet points. The first one is creating a goal that you publicly announce. So, hey, we want to get Sweat Equity to 10,000 subs on YouTube before Jan 1. But then the next part is we have to raise the stakes by introducing a punishment or a negative outcome. Hey, like if we don't, we're going to bring someone else on the pod, a third guest on the pod, or
I'll actually go squat.
Yeah, exactly. Like if exactly like, okay, we could actually workshop this live. So creating the goal would be by Jan 1, we need 10,000 subs. We're at 6.2, 6.3 thousand now on YouTube. Then raising the stakes is like, you have to, if not, Brian has to compete in a bodybuilding competition.
Damn. Come on, bro.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, and you have to do that by whatever, like March.
I've always wondered, so are steroids legal in bodybuilding?
Yes.
They are, right?
Yeah.
So you can just juice. I mean.
Which is weird, right? Because like in the U.S., you technically can't buy steroids, but then there's a sport where you're allowed to take steroids. So everybody there is breaking the law. For
sure. It's a strange ecosystem.
Unless I'm missing something, but I feel like have a good understanding of that entire world.
I would go to you for this question, for sure.
Yeah, you did. On the pod, on the record.
So
the third bullet point is inviting the viewers to support the mission and goal. In this case, it's, our listeners of like, hey, we're trying to accomplish this thing. The next bullet point is you need to set an end date. You can't just say, hey, we're going to reach 10,000 subs because then there's nothing like at stake there. You have to have that end date of, hey, we have to do it by Jan 1st. It's the only way you're going to get people to like become mission driven and like rally behind the goal. And because now, for example, somebody that went through Cut 30, this guy Nick who shared our pod yesterday on his story.
Yeah.
Nick,
shout out Nick.
Yeah, shout out Nick. Appreciate you. Nick now sharing that has like more meaning. He's like, damn, I'm trying to get these boys to 10,000. Like, it's my favorite pod.
For sure.
They're helping me. I'm helping you. They're helping me, kind of thing. And all of a sudden now more people are going to rally behind it and share the pod, because like, shit, like, we don't want Brian to do this competition. We don't want him to embarrass himself like that. Come on now.
Don't make me take my shirt off in public, please.
Come on. And so you get, by adding that end date, you add like that, you increase the stakes. Then the last part is, on our end, we would have to then turn it into a daily or weekly series. Like, this is day one of trying to get the pod to 10,000 subs.
Yeah.
And this goes back to some of those ideas that we were talking about, like even looking at Nude Project and how they do those shots where it's like POV. You saw somebody listening to Sweat Equity at the coffee shop. He's just like hammering notes. It looks like he's been on Adderall, like taking Adderall, like adding those things and figuring out how we turn this into like a weekly cadence or a daily cadence of us trying to get to 10,000 subs. That is like the overarching bullet point view. Now, I want to talk about a brand that did this incredibly well. So I'm sure you've heard of the brand Smashed. I'm sure you saw this happen kind of in real time, but they grew to their following to 500,000 followers in under 60 days because of Hit the Goal With Me content. And so it started like this. There's this girl, Nicole, and I believe she was an intern. And she convinced their CMO that creating a series where they just smashed a can of their product, which is called Smashed, every day on IG would be a better marketing strategy than anything else that they could put together. So it started with this girl, Nicole, and Nicole was an intern. And basically she went to her CMO, and because her CMO wanted her to create like this overall overarching marketing strategy, and Nicole was like, look, I have a better idea. Let's ditch the whole entire marketing strategy. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a series where I go on IG every single day and I'm going to smash a can of Smashed live on IG. And I'm going to do this every day with the overarching goal of, hey, if I don't hit 500,000 followers, you're going to fire me, but I'm going to prove to you that this is a better marketing strategy. And her argument was, it's not only going to get eyeballs, but it's going to get people to buy as well. Mm-hmm. Right? So she turned it into a challenge. She turned it into a content series. She added an end goal. She added a negative outcome attached to it. So if you break it down piece by piece, when she publicly announced the goal, she's like, okay, 500,000 followers is the goal. The negative outcome is, if not, she'll get fired, right? Nicole will get fired. The mission is help her reach this goal so she doesn't get fired. End date, June, I think it was June 10th. And then the cadence was every day. Every day she did an episode. What ended up happening was they hit 500,000 followers in less than 45 days. They 5x'd their email list. They sold out of 4 out of, I think, 7 or 8 SKUs. And their sales, it was like in the thousands of percents increase. I couldn't find like the final number, but she was giving updates as she went. Mm-hmm. The other cool thing that happened was people started jumping into it. Like she had, I think it was like Mike Tyson smashed one, right? And like all of a sudden it grew like wildfire because then other people started getting involved in this competition. Yeah. I think this is such an arbitrage to be able to take advantage of this. If you can find kind of like that underlying goal that you can get internally people to rally behind, but then externally the people that follow you or the people that would buy your product to rally behind it as well. Yep. There's a brand that we work with called 4Ocean, and I was talking to you about this a little earlier, where 4Ocean is a very mission-driven company. They sell these bracelets. Every single bracelet that somebody buys removes 5 pounds of trash from the ocean, right? And then they recycle that trash and they actually turn it into the bracelet. So that's how it works. And what's cool about it is they have a ton of celebrity supporters. People like Drake, people like Dana White. I think they had a partnership with Dana White in the UFC. I forgot who else I was looking at, but Joe Rogan follows them. And Ryan Reynolds is another one. And Ryan Reynolds is like a huge fan. He's always wearing the bracelet. If you see him doing talks, if you see him in getting awards, like he always has a bracelet on. And so he's a huge fan. And so they've tried to get him to come out on a cleanup. And so what we thought about was, well, let's turn that into this challenge. Let's turn this into this series. And so now what we're going to do, and I think they're going to be filming the first episode next week, but it's, hey, this is day one of cleaning up the ocean until Ryan Reynolds joins us for a cleanup, right? And so now it's like this overarching goal of, we're going to clean the ocean. We're still going to do what we're going to do, but we're going to continue posting about it, and we'll set an end goal or an end date, but we're going to keep doing this until we get Ryan Reynolds to do it. Now, all of a sudden, everybody that's for ocean and everybody that's a customer and loyal to the brand, they're going to be tagging Ryan Reynolds. They're going to be like, somebody's going to be like, yo, I know this person who knows Ryan Reynolds. Like, I'll show this to him. And it's going to create this movement that is eventually going to get Ryan Reynolds. Like, I'm calling it now. Like, we're going to get Ryan Reynolds to do a cleanup with the brand. And the cool part of it as well is there's such a growth factor when you initiate challenges like these, because people follow along because they want to see the outcome. It happened with Smash that like they grew really fast and then they lost, 50,000-60,000 followers, which again, like when you think about starting at zero and getting I think they're at like 430, 440 now. It's like so many people just want to be along for the ride.
Yeah.
But if you get somebody along for the ride and you can continue doing the other things right, there is such an opportunity to get somebody from follower to fan to customer. Mm-hmm. And I think this is just a huge arbitrage for brands to be able to do something like this. And I think nearly any brand could do something like this, where they introduce a character or characters, and then they create like a challenge around that character. If it's a hydration brand, it's like bring somebody in who's never run their first marathon, and it's like day one of trying to get this person to run, under 3:30 marathon or something along those lines. Huge arbitrage.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of a content format that popped off on TikTok a couple of years ago, where a guy would have a big map and he would say, revealing the top 50 national parks in the United States.
Yeah.
And around, number 35, it starts to pick up traction. And then the videos that really, really, really went mega viral are the ones where it's like part 48.
Yeah.
It's you're down to the top 3, and so now it's almost like more interesting to see who isn't number one rather than who is number one for some of those series. And what it does is over time, like you're building so much momentum. Think about how many eyeballs you got on that account. Everyone's staying around for that. And then how you basically take it thereafter is also super important. Like whatever Smash follow-up to this is going to really define the campaign, because now they got all these new eyeballs. Well, what are you going to do about it? I mean, this girl is like driving outsized value.
Yeah.
It's like, what happens when she kind of recognizes what, she's worth to the company?
Oh, she definitely has a significant amount of equity now. She has to, bro.
Yeah, like she's blowing this thing
probably
up.
5-10x this company.
Yeah. And it's crazy what happens when, the power of just compounding in a series starts to come in. And also just being different. I mean, I'm looking at this Instagram, like nothing looks standard. They're doing all sorts of kind of viral meme content. Like everything's a skit. Everything is something that is alluding to culture. Like there's a lot of, they do a video where she's dressed up as a bush and then she scares people.
So have you actually seen, there's a guy called Bushman in San Antonio.
Yes.
And he's been doing it for, years.
Exactly.
And it's probably my favorite I love watching people. There's a few pieces of type of content that like I get such a kick out of. When you prank somebody or scare the shit out of somebody, like I absolutely lose it. The second is I love watching people fall. Not fall to the sense where they actually get hurt.
Yeah.
Right? But fall, like seeing somebody fall down the stairs and slide down. Or there was one where like this guy.
You're just a hater. That's crazy.
No, bro. I like I listened to Kevin Hart talk about this I think it was with Rogan, where he's like, if I watch you get injured, he's like, I feel bad, but he's like, I cannot stop laughing.
I'm not gonna lie. So my roommate, you've heard of an ick, right? Ick when a girl's like, oh, that icked me out.
Yeah.
And one of my roommates, girls will always like ask, they'll be like, well, so what's your ick? And his number one is if he sees a girl trip, then he's out. He's like, if she trips, she's not an athlete, I'm done.
That's so funny.
It's so savage and unfair, but also pretty
so
true.
funny. Yeah, that's good.
What they're doing is something that more brands need to do, which is an exercise of creating content in the formats that your fans are used to, like your target market is used to. So have you seen Fetii? They're a local. They're kind of like an Uber for Sprinter vans. So,
I know what you're talking about. I didn't know the brand name, but yeah.
So they're Uber for Sprinter vans. They're very concentrated on college campuses because colleges have all sorts of these, date events. They have so many reasons to have a party bus. Not everyone has, massive party bus demand, but college towns through the roof. And so what they're doing right now is they're creating something that you would appreciate, which is they're creating localized Instagram accounts. So they have like a Fetii SMU or a Fetii Texas A&M or a Fetii, University of Texas. And they have a main account. And so what they're doing is they're sending a street interviewer to these places on game day, which is obviously a day that has a high volume of use of their product. And they're asking people how much is their game day fit. So they'll be like, oh, like this top is from Zara, this skirt is from Revolve, whatever. And it'll say, I think it was like $45. Like they'll layer in that little ka-ching noise, and then they'll be like, total value of the fit was like $300. Has nothing to do with, any sort of ride share, but it is content that everyone's used to street interview content. Everyone's super curious about, what's going on in college campuses. Like, is that outfit like $500? Like, it's really interesting. And, that type of content blew up on TikTok, where this girl would look at different celebrities and be like, oh, okay, like let's, debug this. Like that top is like $150. Those boots are like $500, and it blew up. And so Fetii took that same concept, which was purely organic from a creator, and now they're using it as their series for their business. And it's working like crazy. They picked up like 80,000 followers in the last like 6 months of doing this. And
all right, marketers, we know you love the TLDR, so let's get right to the point. Here are 5 things you can get done faster with Wix Studio. Number 1, you could scale content with dynamic pages and reusable assets. Then number 2, you can integrate with Meta's conversion API, Zapier, Google Ads, and more in just a few seconds. Then number 3, which is a given, and this is A/B tests, where you can create them in days, not weeks, with their intuitive design tools. Then number 4, you could connect to tracking and analytical tools like SEMrush and GA4 in seconds, and manage all of your client social media from one dashboard. All right, if you're ready for more, then go to wixstudio.com. Again, that's wixstudio.com. And that goes back to like what you and I talk about. It's like you do these series to get people into your ecosystem, so that when you do create the promotional content, you do the middle funnel, bottom funnel content, you're actually reaching new people every single time.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you're picking up followers as Fetii, there's someone who at a certain point, they're trying to get app downloads, they're trying to get user base. So their content is just all top of funnel. It's all like, how can we grow our followers? And then with their story, that's where they layer in LTOs, limited time offers. So if it's Saturday, they'll say, thanks for like drive safe from Fetii. Here's $15 off your next ride. And that's on the story. That's not necessarily something that they're putting on IG Reels or like running ads to. So it's a really interesting strategy. But
I think the other part that's interesting about it is the fact that how you can look at different events or moments in time or like in a calendar as, okay, this is my opportunity to create a content series that's time sensitive around this because it fits my audience. And so, even looking at Smashed, they did something where they for Halloween, naturally we think about, okay, our kids are going to get candy. And then there's always like, who's that one person that's also going to have like drinks for the parents?
Yeah. Or give away the healthy.
Exactly.
The healthy basket.
Yeah. And so
I know that wasn't happening at the Garcia.
Not at all.
You were giving away meat sticks.
That is a crazy statement to say.
Yeah. I feel like you're giving away.
Well, no, that sounds just 10 times worse than like carnivore snacks is what you're trying to refer to.
Yeah, well, I had like kind of like a healthy Slim Jim in mind, like a Chomps, but
you can't be saying I'm giving away meat snacks to kids.
That's fair.
That's what I'm saying.
That's totally fair. That's totally fair. I'll let the audience be the judge.
I also live in like this little cul-de-sac area because like we took Zara trick-or-treating and shit, and we live in this little cul-de-sac area that, bro, like nobody goes that way.
Yeah, that's so tough.
So tough. So like we
Being
put a bowl of candy.
House on Halloween is tough.
Yeah, bro. So the whole bowl is like still full.
Yeah, no, I got real excited last year. I tried to host like some Halloween. I thought I was gonna get trick-or-treaters because I was in this super gentrified neighborhood in Denver, and 2 streets over was like the block where it was popping.
Yeah.
And literally I didn't get a single knock, and I had an entire thing of Reese's. Bro, I gained like 6 pounds.
Bro, we got one knock, and it was just our neighbor. I was like, it was a whole thing.
Extremely discouraging.
The reason I even brought that up is Smash did a thing where it was like they set up trick or treating, right? And it was like for kids and adults, like the folders not the folder. The table had a thing that said adults here, and it had a cooler, and then there was another section for kids where they gave out candy. In the adults, it showed right in front of the cooler, it showed a pack of their mocktails. But when they opened the cooler, she was popping out and scaring everybody for Halloween. It got 40,000 likes and I think a few million views.
It's crazy.
Right? And it's like, this is just her taking advantage of, okay, there's Halloween. What can we do on Halloween? That's like a little content series. They did a few episodes of it and it absolutely crushed. There was one or two that got 1,000, 2,000 likes and then one that took off. And that's why it's like, what's good about content series is not every single one's going to take off, but one of them is. Like if you're doing it right and you're optimizing it time over time, like one of them is going to take off. With Fetii, it's like that same idea. It's like not every episode of, hey, like how much does your fit cost is going to take off, but one of them is. And one of them is you are going to have that, I forgot who called it this, but like that binge bank of old content that they just want to watch. It's what happens with like the Bushman in San Antonio. Anytime I watch one piece, I click through and I start watching all of them because I just want to laugh.
It's crazy. So something that like I'm reviewing their Instagram account right now, and you can see. So they're getting around 3,000 to 4,000 likes on their recent stuff.
Yeah.
But when you go back to this challenge that you were talking about, bro, it's on average. She's talking about every single video is, okay, team, 9 days remaining until we announce our next mission.
Yeah.
Those videos are getting 40,000 likes on average.
Crazy.
Every single one of them is popping. And I mean, this is insane, dude. Like 8 days remaining to prove to my boss that smashing this can is more effective than
It's so good.
his entire marketing strategy. This is how you stand out as, the intern.
And yeah, right. And she's doing another one where it's like, this is day one of traveling across the world to save my company. You know what I mean? And she's just good at this, man. She's good at like getting people to like save my company. Like people are now going to rally behind that. It's going to be another good.
This must have been like an absolutely insane ride for her.
Yeah.
But she's just going viral every single time, putting costumes on.
And what a good hire for if she really is the intern. Like what a like home run hire.
She's probably like CMO.
Yeah, she took the dude's job.
She takes the fundraising meetings. No, this is a great find. Did you see this Lucky Energy video the other day?
Yeah.
You saw that? Where it went
was it?
crazy on TikTok because they started talking about like, it was just every single little niche micro trend that is happening. They put it all in a parking lot.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, the CEO was like, all right, now that we have your attention, this is Lucky Energy.
Yeah. It was good.
Yeah, that was pretty smart too. I mean, I'm split on that stuff because the performance marketer in me is saying, sure, like that got you a lot of eyeballs, but I've just been a part of several different companies that got massive traffic influxes and nothing happened, to be honest. Yeah. Like going viral, the Shark Tank stuff, like, when we aired on Shark Tank for Grind, like we got like, I don't know, several 100,000 site visits when our average was like 25,000. It wasn't even a better month than the March that we had when we were closing our pre-order batch.
Yeah.
And so it's good and bad. Like at a certain point, like, okay, I'll remember if I see a Lucky Energy, and like 2 months from now, I'll be like, oh, that was that brand. Will that make me buy it? I'm still not an energy drink guy, which is ironic, but I don't know.
I give it like another year of being an agency bro before you become an energy drink guy. At some point, coffee just does not suffice, bro. It is not enough. You need to bang energy.
See, that's almost crazier than
actually. I don't see
sticks.
those anymore.
Yeah, I feel like bang is cash. The energy drink category is really competitive.
Very competitive.
Beverage in general, I think it's been fascinating being close to the best with like a few of these different big beverage companies because you just start to realize like, man, retail is just distribution. At the end of the day, like you just have to have the right distribution, and then you almost are guaranteed to not fail.
Dude, the thing that was crazy for me was, so The Rock has Zoa. Or whatever it is.
I feel like it's not doing that well.
So at HEB, it used to be front and center on like the cooler aisle with all the energy drinks.
Yeah.
And now it's just another one that they sell like on the side. Like it's not even in the cooler. And I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
But he also stopped promoting it. Yeah. So I don't know. It's strange.
Thing about celebrity brands is they get a guaranteed at bat.
Yeah.
They get a guaranteed shot at being on shelves, but a lot of the time they don't have the marketing firepower behind it. Yeah. Because it's like stolen valor. Like they got there without actually having to earn it, just based on, that was the underrated part of Kevin Hart's goalie live stream on TikTok. So I got some information that was actually just him trying to promote Vita Hustle, which is his new brand. And so he was trying to basically pirate a lot of the traffic from the goalie thing
to his shit,
to put into his shit. Still didn't get any real traction, but it's Celebrity brands are interesting, man.
It's very interesting.
Because they all just kind of try and cut the line and like bet on like, oh, like we'll just be good, you know?
Yeah. So what do you got on differentiation? What are you thinking?
Yeah. So, the more that we talk to a lot of the listeners, the more I hear I have a streetwear brand or I have this, hydration pack. I have this thing that there's 25 different people in my niche right now. And so what is really difficult for a lot of folks, I think, is understanding true differentiation and where that really comes from. So you just mentioned something that I think is really cool, which was like the cause-driven differentiation. Yeah. And for a while, this looked like eco-friendly. It was, save the turtles type of stuff. And now I think people want a layer deeper. So there's a lot of mental health stuff. There's a lot of donation to abuse. Like one of my clients is this keychain alarm brand called She's Birdie. And they're women-owned and operated, women-founded. And it's an alarm that's kind of like an alternative to pepper spray. It like lights up and it's really loud. And they donate proceeds to domestic abuse victims. And so, me not being necessarily in their niche, I was kind of like, oh, this is cool, but that's really cool that it's mission driven, but it didn't resonate with me. And then we started activating affiliates and started noticing like, what is the feedback we're getting from these people? And dude, it was the first thing everyone talked about. It's some of their most successful angles is it's a women-owned business. It's meant to help. It's women helping other women. Like it was very uplifting.
Yeah.
And so I think there's a really strong ability to do cause-driven stuff. And the cause, it's inherently tied to who you are as the founder.
To your
And we got, shout out Julian. This is Next Level Worldwide. He's got a really cool streetwear brand. And I think, where do you kind of differentiate here? It's like, well, what's your cause? Mm-hmm. Like what is the thing that, and it can't just be we're for the winners, right? It can't just be we're for the grinders. Yeah. Like everyone's working hard. Yeah. Working hard is not necessarily, well, actually most people are not working hard.
That's what I'm saying.
But there's a lot of brands I think that try and promote that ethos of, like 247 is already doing it, right? Yeah. They're saying that we're for the people that are working 24/7. So, I think like, how do you find your cause? Well, what is something that you're passionate about? What is something that affected your parents? What is something that's inherently ingrained in your story? Whether that's your grandparents, your parents, your cousin, someone something that affected them, whether is it cancer? Is it like suicide? Like, is it animals? Something that people will really resonate with and want to support you and can inherently be tied to your brand story. So the second thing is, and you've talked about this a lot, and I thought Bandit, like the way they did their marathon training stuff.
Yeah.
Every single brand should at least try and have some sort of community-driven thing to rally around.
Yes.
Every single brand, no matter who it is. So like, what you're seeing right now on TikTok Shop is these star creator meetups. And I think that is a really powerful way to build community. It's just hosting meetups for your brand. And it's not game-changing stuff, right? But I still think like, okay, how do you give people a reason to congregate in person and interact with themselves? And the biggest thing about a community that we talk about all the time is you don't have a community, you have a following if
two different things.
If people aren't interacting independently of you. Yeah. So how do you create this feeling like if you're next level, how do you have people in your next level community talking to each other outside of it? And I think that's partly related to your cause, partly related to the story. Like, are you someone what are you training for?
Yeah.
Are you training for high rocks? Are you training for marathon? Like, the running community has exploded because everyone's talking about what shoes can I wear to, hit a new PR, or what recovery protocol are you following to feel better the next day, to run a better time. And you got to find whatever movement is ongoing to be able to attach to that. So wellness is obviously big right now, but I think that's saturated. You got to be looking at the thing that is coming in the next couple of years. I think, a really big trend that people could take advantage of is going to be the rebellion against AI. So anti-technology, as we come to you live from YouTube, is going to be a really big trend. I think people are going to want human-made art, verified human content. creatives that are not influenced by ChatGPT or Claude or any of these different AI tools, no Mid-Journey, no nothing. In the same way that those are going to explode, they're going to feel very stale and very kind of cookie cutter. And so, well, Next Level Worldwide, like, bro, the back of this shirt is crazy. You know?
It is.
I remember you were like, what is that? But like, so what is your community? It's, you know, people that are rebelling against what AI is doing to creativity. And so if, you know, creatives like apparel, everyone's got to wear clothes. And so what he might represent.
If you go to down to 6th Street on the east side, bro, people beg to differ.
Bro, this dude.
People beg to differ.
I was at Congress and Chavez the other day, and this dude whipped out. He started going crazy.
Whipped out his meat?
He whipped out his meat and just started peeing on a water fountain. I was like, I don't know who cleans these things.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
I never drink out of the water. Never, ever.
I wish I just had like a water balloon that I could have just like hit him with. You know, but what happens if you miss? Like then, then everyone at the intersection.
No, then you got to do, bro, the stare from that Johnny Valentine guy.
Yeah. I just can't imagine like trying to throw like publicly missing that throw.
Yeah.
But like, okay, so and I'm workshopping this idea live on the pod, but a creative meetup for people that are not into AI, that could be your story. I think everything that we're currently experiencing the death of creativity, and so I want to create clothing for the people that are trying to. You know, trying to use their brains in ways that actually stimulate it. And, you know, last is just weaving that into your story. At the end of the day, like Oren has talked about this on our podcast before. We just got a comment on YouTube about it, which is, you know, I'm trying to position myself more up market. I want to charge luxury prices. You know, you were talking about Represent and how they charge a lot for shoes, and that's a great margin that they're charging. So how do you actually command those margins? You know, there's two things. There's craftsmanship and there's quality of ingredient and supply chain. And so we talked about Underbrush gum, how he's charging $20 for a pack of gum that normally would cost, you know, $4. Well, you know what you're getting with Juicy Fruit. You're getting, you know, petrochemicals in your mouth, basically. And with him, you're getting, you know, tree sap and peppermint oil and all these things. And he's very ingredient focused. And so I think supply chain and craftsmanship are two ways that you can tell your story and charge extremely good margins and be differentiated. Because if I heard of, like, one thing everyone's at least subtly aware of is that big apparel is basically using slave labor to mass produce stuff. And so this not being of that same supply chain and being something that is, you know, for people driven by creativity and for people who don't want the world to be consumed by technology, and it's also made with quality ingredients and craftsmanship, could make it really interesting.
So to piggyback off of that and kind of the brands, how they can differentiate with their values and their story, I'm sure you saw this, but like that company Born Primitive.
Yes.
Right, where it's athlete-driven, patriot-inspired fitness apparel.
Yes.
Right, they voted for Kamala, hands down.
They voted for Kamala.
No, come on, bro. Patriot-inspired fitness apparel.
Yeah, because I mean, they're double cheeked up on these Google ads, so they didn't vote for Kamala.
I'm kidding. But
you can leave that in, Kate.
So what's interesting about them is, I don't know if you saw like what they're doing for Black Friday, and I think this is work of Taylor Holiday, so I don't want to make it sound like it's us. But Taylor Holiday did, I think, campaign with Born Primitives where
this is the we got to put up the models that they use for this.
I haven't seen the bottles.
No, the models.
Oh, the models.
The models that they use. It's just like a really attractive blonde girl, and then like
typical like bombshell,
like Navy SEAL Chris Kyle looking dude in a flannel, and I'm like, he would take my head off.
Dude, I'm getting sniped. Doesn't matter where I'm coming from.
100%, bro.
But they did a Black Friday sale where it was like 11/8 through 11/11. All profits are pledged to paying off $5 million in medical debts for vets.
Sick.
Which is super sick.
It's amazing,
right? And again, like this, and it all plays into just like their overarching values. As like the founder is a veteran, he supports veterans. Last year they did I think they paid off 2.5 million in debts, and this year that they're trying to do it with 5 million. And like he created a ton of founder-led content, like he did the whole thing. But again, like not only was this a really good idea, it was a very good idea that got covered in national news, and then got more people to then rally behind their values as a brand of like, this is my kind of brand. So again, when we're thinking about this idea of athletic apparel, they're no different than the Reebok. In reality, like you look at
It
the
looks
products
like
and I
exactly
thought it
like
was
the Reebok
Reebok.
shoe. Yeah.
Right? But it's not. It's born primitive. The
Yeah.
thing that's going to separate them and differentiate them from the market is how rooted they are in their values and their story and how they're connecting with people and how they're building a community around that and finding that niche. That niche is veterans for them.
Yeah.
So super dialed.
Super dialed. I think what's cool about them and what's cool about their story is they clearly stand for something. And, you can't really argue that there was kind of like not necessarily some anti-American wave, but like, there was less pride in the country for a little bit. And so it seems like Born Primitive was able to, in the face of that, say no. And that spoke for some people that maybe didn't have a voice.
Yeah.
Because I think when brands can speak for people that don't feel like their voice is being heard, then that builds those super fans.
100%.
Because all of a sudden they're saying, and CrossFit has seen this a million times over. Like when a CrossFit company is investing in CrossFitters before it's cool, they recognize that.
Yeah.
Versus brands that are trying to come in new or that are not of the DNA.
Yeah.
And so, how do you find those people that you're providing the voice that they don't feel like they have?
100%. Aligned. Because, you become basically the spokesman for them. Like, they don't have,
you're like creating a movement.
100%.
Which would be dope.
Shit, that's all I got.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, if you made it to this point and you're not subscribed, please do us a favor and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're trying to hit 10K by the end of the year. Is that our challenge?
Let's think about it. I don't want to do something.
Maybe February. But
no, I think we could do something cool because we want to do that sweepstakes.
For sure. We got some exciting stuff. We're going to run a sweepstakes for sharing sweat equity with your friends. So Alex and I obviously know a lot of cool brands, and they want to get involved with the podcast as well on some exclusive drops. So stay tuned for that stuff because we got some fun stuff for the community in the pipeline.
Dope. All right, guys, that's a wrap.
Catch y'all later.